Hello and welcome to this video and podcast on Tuesday the 4th of December 2007. Today I'm joined by Simon Perry, Vice President of Security Strategy at CA. Hello Simon, and thanks for joining me today.
Good afternoon, thanks for having me here.
Simon, security, data integrity and identity theft are all issues that have really leapt back onto the news agenda, with another embarrassment for HMRC being reported recently. What do you think of this latest mishap? And do you believe it really does have far-reaching implications for the government and for businesses?
Well, I think that when you look at the HMRC issue, it's really served as a catalyst to springboard this whole issue back up into the public consciousness, if you will. I think what the public has to realise is that there's actually a lot of these sort of situations that are going on, not necessarily just in the public sector, but also in the private sector. We don't hear about them all the time, and certainly a lot of the data breaches that occur do not go to the same scope, the same level of potential damage as the HMRC issue has. So, I think that the main point about it right now, as the police continue working with the government to investigate this particular case, is that it has served as this catalyst for getting this particular issue back upon the public's attention, and to a degree I think that's a good thing, and it's good that we're having these discussions right now.
One of the things that has come out as a result of the whole HMRC issue has been a lot more calls now for some sort of data breach law to come into effect. Do you think that that call should be listened to now, and how far do you think such laws can go?
So there's been a lot of discussion in the UK, as well as at an EU level over the course of the last year or so, on this idea of data breach disclosure. And just to make it clear, all that means is that in the case of an exposure, an unintended exposure of data, private data, that the people who are affected by that disclosure, so for example in the HMRC case, the individuals whose banking details and other personal information has been exposed. So data breach disclosure would say that every single one of those people must be notified in a very short period of time that their data has actually been exposed out there. Now I think in the HMRC case, it's worth saying that the government deserves a level of credit in that once it became apparent that the disks had been lost, they fairly quickly moved to work with the banks to make sure that the appropriate monitoring was going on for the relevant bank accounts, and then they went public with it and they let everyone know. And they've also been doing other things like sending letters out to all of the affected individuals and so forth. So in that particular case, I think that they've been doing a fairly good job. The issue is that, as I said earlier, these types of breaches really are occurring on a unfortunately regular basis in the public and the private sector. And there is not an onus of responsibility, there's not a requirement by law for any of those organisations to take a regimented set of actions. And if we look in North America, where approximately half of the states in North America today have now followed the lead set by California in implementing breach disclosure laws, what we're seeing is some very positive actions which are coming out, again in both the public and private sector. And there's a lot more transparency to those that are affected by data breaches. They understand what's going on, they're getting a sense of which companies are doing a good job of protecting the data that they've been entrusted with and which ones aren't. And they're able to take their own personal steps to monitor their bank accounts and their credit cards and fraudulent use of other forms of their data, like identity data and so forth.
It's interesting because you talked a little bit there about consumers and this sort of thing. And I guess consumers' confidence in businesses and government will be shaken by this. I mean, is there any evidence that you think it has been, or what do you think about the whole consumer confidence side of things? Is it an issue now?
The most immediate reaction from the point of view of confidence to the whole HMRC issue has really been a lot of discussions about confidence in the government to drive through something like national ID card, etc. But I actually think there's a bigger picture here, and The bigger picture is that regardless of whether it's public sector or whether it's private sector, that there has been an ongoing series of breaches which have gone on, and some research that we've done here at CA in conjunction with YouGov, and is research that we've done this year in 2007. We also did we did very similar research back in 2006 as well. So we're now getting a year-over-year comparison. And what the research has been looking at is whether there has been an erosion of confidence in the marketplace for companies, particularly those that consumers are choosing to do online trading with, and whether consumers are losing confidence in those companies for protecting the personal data that is being entrusted with them. And year over year, the survey is telling us that we're actually seeing an erosion in trust. So a big case like this, I think just, if anything, is just it accelerates that loss of trust in the industry. And that's something which I think has very far-reaching implications when we look at the continuation of e-commerce models, etc.